Hi, this is Rich Newsom, and this is another edition of the brainandspinalcord.org video blog. Thank you for joining us today. This week's segment is about a story that we recently did on the website called Alyssa Story. And the story has gotten a lot of attention out there. We've gotten a lot of emails and questions from folks wanting to know a little bit more about this problem of seat back failures and who Alyssa was and what happened to her. And so today we are joined by Andrew Knopf. Andrew is a consumer attorney practicing in Orlando, Florida, and he represents folks who are victims of spinal cord and brain injury accidents. And so, Andrew, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
And you represent Alyssa and her family, is that right?
We do.
And tell our audience, if you will, a little bit about her case and what happened to her that day.
In early 2007, Alyssa's grandparents were taking her home from school, and they were stopped at a stoplight that's very close to their house. And while they were stopped, they were rear-ended by a drunk driver. And during the course of that rear impact, the front driver's seat, which was occupied by Grandpa Perino, collapsed rearward into the space occupied by Alyssa. And as a result of his body moving rearward and upward, actually the back of his head collided with Alyssa's head, causing a devastating brain injury.
Now, I've seen some of the pictures. It looked, obviously like a bad accident, but how fast did that other car hit him about, if you know?
It's around a 40-mile-an-hour impact, so the relative change in velocity was somewhere around 24 miles per hour.
So this is not the kind of crash that's going to not be survivable, is that right?
Absolutely not. And in fact, in this particular accident, all the other occupants walked away from the accident with relatively minor injuries.
So, Andrew, what happened here in this crash that caused Alyssa to suffer this catastrophic brain injury?
The seat back collapsing rearward because it was designed with insufficient structural integrity to remain upright in these types of accidents.
And is this something that you guys have seen in other cases? Is this just an isolated incident? I mean, what's the rest of the story?
Unfortunately, this is a very real problem. And what we've noticed is that these seat backs and their design is not only causing injuries to rear-seated occupants like Alyssa, but it's also causing injuries to front-seated occupants. As you would imagine, when the seat back collapses, there's a potential for a high-level spinal cord injury. But we've seen this throughout the country.
And how many times? Is this like once or twice, or has this happened a lot?
Unfortunately, this has happened a lot.
And I mean, what is the solution? Are there any options out there to protect yourself from these kind of injuries in a rear-end crash?
Well, first, what you can do is you can buy a vehicle that's equipped with a strong seat. And the seats that are strong are the seats that have the belt integrated, the seat belt actually integrated into the seat. They're called ABTS seats.
I see.
And what we found is those seats are designed with a lot more structural integrity, so they're capable of absorbing these types of energies during a rear impact accident.
And if someone has a vehicle, for example, and they're not sure if it has a strong seat, or they know, for example, they don't have one of these integrated seats, the ABTS seats, where the seat belt comes out of the seat itself, what can they do to be on the safe side to protect their children in these rear-end crashes?
Well, first what you can do is you can make sure that you're not seating a child behind a front seat. Either you can put them in the middle seat, or you can put them in behind the passenger seat if it's not occupied by a front-seated occupant. Other things that you should do is you should pay attention to the proximity of the front seat to the rear, moving it as forward as possible, making sure the seat back is reclined as up as much as possible, are some of the things that you can do to try and minimize these types of injuries.
Because it's the geometry of that head coming back and that seat coming back with a small child, that's what I guess caused the injury.
Correct.
Case. So thank you, Andrew, for being here. And I guess to summarize then, basically with Alyssa's story, the lesson is to try to first of all get a vehicle that has strong seats, one of these ABTS integrated seatbelt seats, which would have prevented something like this, or alternatively to make sure that the child is seated in the middle position or otherwise so that they're not going to be in a position of being injured in a rear-end crash.
Correct.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, our audience, for joining us today. And we invite any comments or questions that you may have. Please visit brainandspinalcord.org and stay tuned. Please subscribe to the blog. We're going to try to do a good job of getting out at least once or twice a week a video blog, and we have our daily blog, which goes out on the site every day. So subscribe. Tell your friends, especially if you have friends in the spinal cord or brain injury community that you think may find this of interest or be of benefit. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on the blog at brainandspinalcord.org.